What would you do if your HOA sent fake police officers to your house trying to arrest you in your own driveway? Well, that's exactly what happened to me They had no idea who they were messing with. My HOA thought they could scare me, with paperwork, bogus fines, and threats. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't just another homeowner. I was Captain Daniel Ross, Chief of Police for the county, and when they crossed the line, they were about to learn what happens when fake authority collides with the real thing. It all started when Linda Harper, our HOA president, strutted around the neighborhood with her clipboard like a dictator, waving phony ordinance letters and acting as if she ran a federal agency instead of a neighborhood association. She tried to fine me for illegal parking even though my truck was registered, inspected, and legally protected under state law 22,507.2, which clearly says HOAs cannot override municipal parking codes. When I refused to pay, she escalated and showed up at my door with two men in polo shirts who introduced themselves as HOA compliance officers, flashing cheap laminated badges and warning me that if I didn't comply, they would arrest me under HOA code arrest. That was the red flag because HOAs have no such authority. Only sworn peace officers under State Penal Code 830.1 can make arrests stand while I kept my face calm. My hidden body cam was recording every word. I asked them to repeat their claims, building more evidence with each lie, while inside, I was already planning my move. The next day, they returned in a so-called security vehicle with flashing amber lights, carrying zip ties like handcuffs, marching up my driveway as if they owned it, barking that I was under arrest for HOA code enforcement. That's when I knew they weren't just bluffing anymore, they were committing felonies. Because impersonating officers is a federal crime under Title 18, U.S. Code 912, I raised my hands, pretending to surrender, but the moment they reached up for me, my training kicked in. I twisted the first man's wrist, dropped him instantly, his knee popping with a sickening crack, and when the second lunged at me with zip ties, I hooked his ankle and slammed him face first into the pavement, dislocating his knee on impact. Both crawled on the ground, moaning, begging me to stop, but they were already done. That's when I pulled out my real badge, knelt beside them, and said calmly, "You just impersonated peace officers, trespassed, and attempted unlawful detention. That means prison." Their faces drained of color. Minutes later, my deputies arrived with sirens blaring, guns drawn. The imposters were cuffed and thrown into a squad car, while neighbors peeked through their blinds, whispering as they realized this wasn't HOA drama anymore. It was a full-blown criminal takedown. At the station, the imposters cracked almost instantly and admitted Linda Harper. The HOA president had hired them, promising them a payout to teach me a lesson. I wasn't surprised Linda had hated me ever since I fined her nephew for reckless driving, and she thought intimidation would drive me out or ruin my career. But instead, she tied herself to a federal case. The charges stacked up fast: impersonating an officer, conspiracy, attempted unlawful detention, trespassing, each carrying prison time. And because she orchestrated it, Linda was responsible for all of it. When my officers brought her in, she tried to act smug, calling it a misunderstanding and claiming she was just protecting the community. But I slid the evidence folder across the table: body cam footage, sworn statements, fake badges, and told her, "This isn't a misunderstanding, Linda. It's a criminal conspiracy, and you're done." Her lawyer tried to argue, but the case was airtight, and by the end of the day, Linda was booked. The very next morning, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. The same neighbors who once trembled under her control now stood up and voted unanimously to remove her, strip her of her position, fine her for legal costs, and ban her from ever holding HOA office again. As for her hired imposters, they'll be limping into prison once their knees heal, with plenty of time to wonder why they ever agreed to mess with me. That night, I stood on my porch sipping coffee as squad cars rolled away and justice felt heavy, but it felt right. The neighborhood was finally free from Linda's grip and me. I wasn't just their neighbor, I was Captain Daniel Ross, their chief of police. And that's how the HOA learned the hard way: when you send fake officers after me, you don't just lose your power, you lose everything. Asterisk.